Welcome to Cinema Gulp. This is Ben.
And this is John.
And this is Sadie Sue. And this is our first ever holiday mixer.
Ho, ho, ho!
Frosty the Pervert, in a trench coat he did go to the schoolyard to expose his dick and balls made out of snow.
Hey everybody, happy holidays from Cinema Gulp.
Merry Christmas.
Woo! Okay, so John, let's explain to everybody once again what the mixer is all about.
We picked 3 movies, 3 genres that we think fit within the Christmas spirit. We went with a classic, which you can't get much more classic than what Ben has chosen.
It's a Wonderful Life.
It certainly is. And then we picked just a classic comedy that we loved, Scrooged. You can't get much better than Scrooged.
And then what is those crazy little annoying little buggers that always seem to be pests and your electrical items during Christmas, John?
Gremlins!
Gremlins is our third pick. In light of the holiday spirit and to honor our 3 films here and to keep it family friendly for the first time ever, my suggestion is we keep this a Hallmark G-rated show where we do not cuss.
I think that's a fucking great idea.
So what I'm thinking is if we use our little bells here and call each other out if we do swear on this review.
Every time we curse, an angel gets its wings.
Yes.
And we will ring this bell to make sure we stay on point and drink every time we curse. Fucking great.
Cheers.
I can't drink through this goddamn beer.
That's not going to work for you.
See Bill Murray get Scrooged.
Hey, back off, big man. That may work with the chicks, but not with me.
Scrooge has now become a classic film where so many people, when it first came out, were scared of it. Bill Murray had been gone for a while. He kind of ditched his heyday in the 80s after Ghostbusters. Came back. I remember loving this fucking movie.
Yeah, I mean, I think Scrooged is in my top 3 favorite comedies for Christmas. I'm so glad we got to pick it because I think it's a really great movie on top of just being a funny movie. I think it's a really well-made movie. I think using the source material of Charles Dickens' classic
A Christmas Carol.
A Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
Using that as the story, it's just genius. I think this movie brings together a lot of really talented people to make a variation of this story that's been told so many times, but keep it original and interesting and hilarious.
Calling it Scrooged with the ED it's kind of genius in itself because it's saying this guy is not Ebenezer Scrooge, but he's getting Scrooged, almost like screwed. I always took it as like
totally.
screwed.
It's definitely a play on the words there.
Yeah. But Bill Murray is just so fucking genius in this movie. Everything about his character, the arc he goes through, the way he is at the beginning, the way he reacts to the scenes that we watch from the past and the present and into the future, it just shows you how talented this person is and was. And Scrooge is a showcase of everything he can do. He's dramatic at times, he's scared, he's super intense, and he's angry, and he's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, as funny as this movie is,
not doing too good on the G-rated Hallmark show yet, but we'll get there.
All Trudy wants is to be the perfect daughter.
I have nothing to offer. No husband, no grandchildren.
So this Christmas, she's bringing home the perfect boyfriend, even if it is a felony.
there are touching moments in it. Those moments where he goes back in his past, sees his parents. That's actually kind of a really sad moment. That little moment between him and his mom that makes him cry. As a viewer, I almost want to cry in that moment. I mean, it really works, but it's a showcase for Bill Murray, but there's a lot of other great comedic talent in this movie. I think Bobcat Goldthwait really stands out.
Carol Kane.
What did I call her? Carol Allen?
Well, because there's Karen Allen in it,
Karen
too.
Allen.
Yeah.
I always confuse those two.
And let's not forget David Johansen, lead singer of the New York Dolls. I mean, he steals his entire scene from Bill Murray because Bill Murray is reacting in that scene, but he's so good.
Yeah, he's the ghost of Christmas Past.
Yeah.
And he just, the way they make him look and the way he plays that taxi driver role in the film, it's great.
Yeah, he's kind of like an elf. A New Yorker elf. You know, he's
he does have
chomping
that
on the
look.
cigar, and yeah, it's great. Those touches.
But I love the creativity that they bring to even those moments, like the way that they depict the two ghosts that we really see. We mentioned that the ghost of Christmas Future is kept very similar to the way you've seen it in previous films.
I don't think it's really ever been changed. It's always just sort of that Reaper looking.
Because it has to have that impact of being the Reaper. sniper, I think.
Yeah.
The actors portraying the other two ghosts just really steal the scenes away from... I mean, to steal scenes away from Bill Murray, I mean, that's a challenge right there.
He almost befriends the taxi driver, and then he wants to kill Carol Kane's Angel, who's she just is so
Angel
funny.
of Pain.
She is so goddamn funny in this movie.
Yeah, the way that she just beats the shit out of Bill Murray to transport him from place to place, it's hilarious.
He needs to drink. He just said shit. So this movie is directed by Richard Donner, who has done some fantastic movies. If you don't know his filmography, Superman the movie, he's done all 4 Lethal Weapon films, 2 of which are good, 2 of which are okay, but not terrible.
The Goonies, The Omen.
The Omen! Oh, goodness. First thing we started talking about, because it's the first thing that comes up, is that Danny Elfman score.
Yeah. It's just a group of geniuses that got together to make this movie, in my opinion. I mean, Danny Elfman has obviously proven himself to be an amazing composer, but he was just kind of getting started out here, and this is a pretty iconic score of his, in my opinion. It works as a Christmas theme, but it works to add that darker side to the original story and to the story they're telling. Then you got Richard Donner's style and look, and Michael Chapman is back.
Good cinematographer.
But it has that Richard Donner look to it,
Yeah.
that 80s feel and look. The production design really comes together in selling the moments that happened in the past, and the different settings. Even the future is kind of this bleak
Hunger Games looking future.
Hunger Games future or whatever. So I think every creative department on this movie really comes together to make a unique Christmas movie. I honestly think this is the most original retelling of this story. The most creative retelling.
Well, because
it
took a chance to be so different. It's a true to life update. It's not like, oh hey, it's 1988, so let's redo it but keep it in the same times. Like, they had to adapt that he's now the president of a television studio instead of whatever Marley and Scrooge was. It was like a fucking banking whatever. They fuck people over on Christmas for money. Fuck them.
Well, that hasn't changed.
All those transitions, they use all just these regular in-camera tricks where you just have to use your head and design a shot to go into another shot, not with some sort of effect, to kind of put him in a place where he meets the ghost, and then when the ghost leaves, he ends up somewhere else. And it's always really creative and interesting where he ends up and where he first meets the ghosts. And I love that his office is where he pretty much meets Marley, and when it comes to his home where he's relaxing and having his drink, it's always his office. And I like that update as well. Let's talk really quickly about some of the dark scenes. I think some of the things that kind of took people away from enjoying this movie when it first came out because they didn't quite get these shifts in tone. And the one that always stands out to me is Herman, like Popsicle Herman, frozen solid, and like Bill Murray's reaction to it, knowing that he kind of caused it.
Yes, yeah, that was another moment that really it makes me sad watching that moment.
It's very sad. It just comes out of nowhere, and it's really sad.
But that's important for where his arc is and where Scrooge is supposed to end up. I can't remember from the original if Scrooge is the cause of somebody dying, essentially. I don't think so. And I think they do a great job of reworking the original story where you have the Bob Cratchit character, but he's kind of split into 2 characters with Alfre Woodard's character and then her son being the Tiny Tim, but then you have actual Bobcat Goldthwait playing Bob Cratchit as well.
See, I always thought Bobcat was supposed to be more of a hybrid, like its own character. That's what I like about his characters. He's not from any other story or adaptation I've ever seen, because he's not Cratchit. Because Cratchit, first of all, Cratchit is never fired.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. I always thought of him as a version of Cratchit, but you're right. He doesn't really. They already have Alfre Woodard fit pretty much every role you need to play Bob Cratchit
completely. Yeah, she's Cratchit completely, and she's excellent.
She's excellent.
Yeah,
she's really funny when she needs to be, but she also can bring heart and depth to the scenes.
Her reactions when you're watching Bill Murray, and you got to wonder how much was ad lib from Bill Murray when he just rips her son's painting of Christmas right off the wall and throws it away.
I honestly think Bill Murray might be the greatest comedic genius to ever be on screen. There's just something about his line delivery that is unlike anybody else and makes me laugh no matter what film he's in. Even the forgettable ones, he is a genius. He is hilarious in. And so I just want to go on record of saying I think Bill Murray is quite possibly a comedic god. So cheers to Bill Murray.
Cheers to Bill Murray, and cheers to Scrooge.
My name is Chris Kringle. I make that pussy jingle. Hoes at the North Point.
Well, this is certainly not getting a bah humbug for me. I love this movie. As I said, it's one of my favorite Christmas comedies. I think I'd have to put this thing pretty high because it's a really creative movie. I think the direction by Richard Donner and like I said, the creative team brings it all to this movie.
One of Donner's best movies.
One of Donner's best movies.
Top 5
really
for
is.
sure.
So for my Gulp score, I'm going to give Scrooged a 9.
All right. I echo everything that he said. Bill Murray's a god. This movie's amazing. I watch it every year, at least once during the holidays. I'm so glad we got to watch it together and review it and talk about it, because there's so much to celebrate about films like this that didn't really get a chance when they came out. And later they found a footing and became a holiday cult classic, if that's what you want to call it. So I give Scrooge 9.5 Gulps.
This is me. You remember me? George Bailey. What is it you want, Barry? What do you want? You want the moon? Just say the word and I'll throw a lasso around it and pull it down.
I think it's a very wonderful life, and it's a wonderful night. The thing I love about It's a Wonderful Life is people go into this movie thinking it's one thing and not realizing it's a raw, brutal, financial drama, essentially.
Yeah.
It's not a Christmas movie, and the final line of Daddy Angel gets the wings when bells ring.
You got to wait for that.
Yeah, that's not what this movie is. This movie is about the financial banking system of the 1930s and how easily it was to lose every fucking penny you have.
Yeah, if you consider fiduciary industry and financial crisis to be the festive season you're looking for, then this is the movie for you. It's all about the screenplay of this movie. I think the fantasy that it creates.
Not enough eggnog.
Is that some strong eggnog
Not
there?
enough eggnog.
So many movies have referenced it and kind of pulled from it, but for its day, it certainly was an original story, I would think.
Yeah. I mean, who knows if that kind of stuff was even being told yet in that kind of mature manner where the film could almost be done today with all the financial... I mean, it could have been done, say, in 2008 when everyone lost their money in kind of a similar fashion. Mm-hmm. But
yeah, it had the Big Short. It felt a little bit like that at times while watching it, now with fresh eyes.
Well, it shows you these small towns back then, how everyone, you literally just, you signed one piece of paper and you entrusted your life savings to either the asshole, Mr. Potter, or to George Bailey. And George Bailey was a good man. And I want to get into how much, I love the screenplay as well, but I love Jimmy Stewart in this movie. He's so good in this movie. He's so, again, just like what we were talking about with Scrooge, he's so many different layers of character. He's such an upbeat, interesting person with all kinds of ambitions and dreams. And then you see the very tortured side and kind of the whiny babyish side, because that's how he chooses to deal with negativity in his life. Yeah,
he has all those sides. He's a really fascinating character, and I think his performance just gets better as the movie goes on. I mean, that the happy-go-lucky side that you get to see initially, but then you start to see some of his dreams that he's having to put aside, and you always see how painful it is for him to... It's not always, usually not a decision he's making. Something is thrust upon him that keeps him in the town, keeps him from leaving, keeps him to make a tough decision to help out the people of the town, but always has such a good heart.
He's a do-gooder.
Yeah, he's a do-gooder. And that's why I pointed out what I thought was so genius about the Clarence, is it? Clarence is the angel. His plan to save him in the end, it's so simple, but it's like the gods or the angels set it up, that Clarence is a simple-minded guy, but that's the solution for George's problem. Yeah. And he comes up with just such a beautiful and simple solution to jump in the water first, and knowing that George is a do-gooder and good at heart, that he's going to jump in and save him. And I thought that just worked so perfectly.
Clarence is watching George Bailey's life as we are. That's the whole point. So when he gets to that jumping off point, like, George Bailey puts the weight of the world on his shoulders, and showing him a world without him where everything is fucked is what really made him want to go back. And whether he really thought he was actually going to kill himself or not, there's no way he really would have, but that's not really the point.
Well, they set up that the only way he's going to make the money to pay back his family is his life insurance policy. He is going to go through with it, I think.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Well, then he's a piece of shit. He's a cowardice piece of shit.
It's tough.
Donna Reed, when Frank Capra shoots his leading ladies, it's very angelical. Do you notice it almost as if, I don't even really know to the extent of what they had back then as far as filters, and
she is so gorgeous in that first image. I mean, throughout the whole movie, but that first image does sell her beauty, and him catching her across the room that moment of the two of them connecting really comes across on screen, and their chemistry. That scene, the tie up the moon or lasso the moon for you.
One of the best scenes in the movie.
Such a great scene, and the chemistry between the two of them is so much fun to see.
Where they're just kind of walking around town drunk, and he's got the rugby stuff on, and she's just walking around in a robe, which is kind of hot,
That had my imagination working overdrive.
No, you're right though. That's such a good scene. The script is so good right there. They're both so good in that scene, and you could tell it's two people that may not meet right back up after that night, and that's what happens. They don't meet up for years later, and I love scenes written like that where it's just wonderful evening, and then it goes nowhere for a long time. And then, the next time they see each other, they're just like flies on shit.
Yes, the wishes that they both make. And you fully know without either of them having this. Well, he spells out what his wish was, essentially. And we already knew it from setup earlier in the film.
Yeah.
But hers is a silent wish, but you know that it's that all of his dreams won't come true so they can spend a life together. That's exactly what happens. But it works beautifully, I think.
I think it's metaphorical. Like when she's throwing that rock through the glass, she's shattering his dreams to fulfill her own.
Totally.
Women.
There's other great cast in this. Is it Lionel Barrymore? Is Potter? I think that's who's playing Potter.
He's been in other Capra films too.
Yeah. Obviously, I think he's like great grandfather or something to Drew Barrymore. But he's excellent. He's a lot of fun.
So
in this movie.
good. Yeah, he's such a dick.
Scrooge, essentially. It's kind of fun that this movie, I think, does borrow the fantasy element and that character kind of feeling a little bit like Scrooge. It does borrow a little bit from A Christmas Carol, but it works. It's such a classic Christmas story, but they reworked it into their own, completely own story.
The Dickens story is, it's got to be a couple hundred years old, I'm guessing, or like 150 years old.
1800s, I believe.
I'm not a mathematician.
We could watch The Man Who Invented Christmas in the theater right now to find out the true story behind that.
Yeah, I'll go see Bad Daddies 2, Daddy's Home or whatever. These kind of stories, they always need that antagonist to go along with a story. I mean, if it was just kind of a nameless, faceless bank or something like that, it doesn't have the effect. I love that when we get into George's sort of what do you call it? The world where he doesn't exist. It's called Pottersville. It's not called like in Beaver Falls or whatever the hell it's called.
Well, Back to the Future 2, Biff Town or whatever that is.
It's very similar to that. Yeah, it's very similar to that. But yeah, I don't know. The message, there's better Frank Capra movies. He's a pioneer. He's one of the best that's ever lived as far as, revolutionizing things in filmmaking. Obviously, one of my personal favorites is It Happened One Night. This isn't up to that level because of the type of movie it is. It's one of, and again, it's kind of ahead of its time, sort of how It Happened One Night was, where you could call it the first romantic comedy ever made. This is sort of an inspirational film that I don't know were coming out back then. It's one man's kind of journey from like childhood all the way to family, and then the kind of the fantastical element at the end.
Yeah, some of the first act of the film does feel a little bit like a biopic at times of this character of George Bailey.
Yeah.
That third act is really great. I mean, it's the only part that is a Christmas movie. We're here to talk about Christmas, and that is the only part that really the Christmas comes into play. You see it right at the beginning of the film as well. But that third act is great. I really think when George loses it, the acting, the performance in that third act,
his shaky voice.
Yeah, you really feel the world on his shoulders in those scenes. And there's a lot that goes on there because you don't meet Clarence and tell that. So there's a lot to flesh out and to have him see the world that he doesn't exist in. So it's a very full third act, but I think it's definitely the best part of the movie.
It is because it's literally there's only 20 minutes left of the movie when that kicks in. Like 25 minutes left when Clarence is introduced, and then everything is boom, 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 where the rest of the movie really took its time and was a character piece. I love how quick and how, I don't want to say intense, but how I guess intense is one way to put it for the time, I guess.
It is, I think, for the time.
Yeah, I mean when he sees Mary, when she has no idea who he is.
Like that's putting yourself in that situation of a woman who's kind of she's a spinster, what they call her, old maid. So she doesn't date or whatever.
John is right that there's very little Christmas in this movie, but the reason it's considered a Christmas movie is because when you watch it, it's like you're getting a Christmas present, a cinematic Christmas present, right?
From Frank Capra himself.
From Frank Capra, yeah.
Rook-a-my, lick-a-my, suck-a-my cock. It's the first time for you, so here's what you do.
So, It's just not a classic that I rewatch all that often. I hadn't seen it in years. There was a lot of this movie I didn't remember, and I think that financial side of the story can feel like it drags a little bit when watching this. So I personally would give this a 6.5.
It's a holiday film to a degree. Well, look at The Case. The Case has more holiday cheer than both the other one. But that's because they sell it as a holiday classic. But I like the financial aspects of it. I just love the character of George Banks. No, that's Father of the Bride. I love the character of George Bailey so much. He's inspirational, feels very real, especially when he gets in the deep shit, you know?
Yeah.
And I love the writing, and I'm just a gigantic, massive Frank Capra fan. So I'm going to give It's a Wonderful Life 8.5 gulps.
Gremlins, huh? Little monsters.
Right.
Hundreds of them.
Well, I don't know, maybe thousands.
Gremlins. Hadn't seen that movie in years. Really nice to revisit the original Gremlins. Not the new batch, but the old batch.
1984 movie. I haven't seen it in so many years, but it's always been a movie that I've loved as a Christmas movie. It does stand out to me as a Christmas movie, even though it also is a horror movie and a comedy all rolled into one. And I think it does a great job of being all three, at the same time. There's a lot of Christmas spirit in this movie, or a lot of Christmas on display.
Tons.
The horror movie scenes are really effective, especially when I was a kid.
I think it almost starts out as a kid's movie, because you have this fluffy little furry, cutest thing in the world, Gizmo. And we'll get into Billy Peltzer and how old he is as opposed to how old he acts and is treated. He's a 21-year-old kid who has toys in his stocking. But okay. It plays out like a kid's movie until the horror element starts. Well, it almost goes into kids and then science fiction when they take the Mogwai to the
teacher.
Elementary, high school, or he's some kind of science teacher that Billy also likes to hang out with instead of people his own age.
Yeah, he hangs out with a 40-year-old science teacher
a
and
10-year-old Corey Feldman. We all know how that worked out. But anyway, then it's like a science fiction, then it's like a horror, and then the comedy really kicks in, which is so amusing, and so that's where all the really amazing puppetry stuff hits in full display. But I would say that it kind of derails also when it gets to like the Gremlins in the bar, like smoking cigarette.
I thought that was your favorite scene.
I thought it was too, but it's just it is. I think I remember it the best.
Are you more of a fan of Gremlins 2 than you are of Gremlins 1?
No.
Because that would make sense if that's your favorite scene, because that is a microcosm of what you got in Gremlins 2.
I'm a fan of Gremlins 2 in a completely different way, and the makeup in this movie is disturbing and grotesque and beautiful in all those right ways. But I don't know, I like the second one for totally different reasons. It's supposed to be probably the only sequel ever that's spoofing its predecessor on purpose.
They're mutating. Sir, is the building on fire? No, that's a false alarm.
But I think throughout this entire Gremlins film, the first one, it's a Christmas movie through the whole movie.
Yes, very much so. This feels like it's coming off the heels of E.T. for Spielberg. It's not a Spielberg-directed film, but he produced it. So it does feel like, they were trying to find the next cute little alien or creature that they could market and sell, and they did a great job. I mean, Mogwai or Gizmo, it was amazing. The creation on screen, to me, comes to life. There's very few scenes in the original Gremlins where I look at Gizmo and think puppet, because they just do such a good job of the facial expressions, the movement, and bring it to life. And we pointed out there's so many scenes where they work creatively to keep it a puppet and not have to go to some kind of stop animation. Only a couple times in the movie when they want to go with a full seeing the whole body walking down the street or whatever.
Once or twice max.
Yeah, and that's what makes it feel believable so much in the movie, is that it's always puppet work, and such great puppet work.
The Yoda effect of having Gizmo basically confined to a backpack the entire movie.
Yeah.
But everything from the Gremlins coming out of the cupboards, like you can see why they were done that way, because there's somebody behind there controlling it, but it's so effective and it's just done perfectly.
Yeah, you never think about someone's behind there.
And you don't need to ever see Gizmo in full form. It's fine to see his feet, his cute little feet kind of flopping in a trash can, and then when they pull him out, it's kind of a peripheral shot where he just kind of blurred in the background, and you're like, oh, there's Gizmo in full form. Does he have a dick? I can't tell, you know?
I don't really want to know.
Well, I'm kind of curious, but I guess he wouldn't need one because he reproduces with just water, but no, you're right. Like the toys, man. I mean, you literally can see... I want to say there was a commercial where Gizmo was kicking a Teddy Ruxpin into a furnace at that point, because he's basically saying, fuck you, I'm the new talking doll, and I'm going to make way more. And Teddy Ruxpin was the scariest thing known to mankind at the time, too. So.
I'm going to put my evil inside you.
Well, they do that to E.T. in the movie to some degree. They kind of kick him out of the way.
They do.
Say, we're the new toy on the shelf. Directed by Joe Dante, who had a horror background kind of leading up to that point. But he veered off, I think, with this film, he kind of veers off into comedy with things like Inner Space and The Burbs kind of coming on the heels of this.
Right when we kind of zoom into the small town, which is called what?
Kingston Falls.
So now we have another falls.
Bedford Falls from It's a Wonderful Life. Now we're in Kingston Falls. It's all this Norman Rockwell kind of...
People are dressed up like they're in a costume, like they're in a theatrical play. Like the person that's like, oh, hi, Mrs. Deagle. And she's like, get out of my way. He's like, oh. It's like, he seems like he belongs in like the Wizard of Oz or something, you know? Like everyone's just so over the top.
Which it does feel like they're referencing the Wizard of Oz with the Mrs. Deagle character. Again, we get another Scrooge character. Mrs. Deagle is certainly filling the Scrooge role. But she also... There's a couple moments that really kind of plays into her being like the Wicked Witch of the West. And I thought that was a lot of fun, too.
And she dies in this one, though, in an awesome death scene.
She's confirmed to be dead. Now, the Futtermans, that's an interesting question, because they show up in the sequel, but if you watch this movie, they clearly are run over by a bulldozer. Like, they are 2 feet away from it, and it is still moving at them with a wall behind them. There's nowhere for them to go. They should be fucking dead, but they show up in the sequel, and I don't now after watching this I am befuddlement.
Good one. Okay, I guess gotta say whenever I watch the scene where Gizmo says goodbye, Billy, it's so cute. It
brings a tear to your eye.
It's fucking cute, man. Cheers to that.
How about the scene where Phoebe Cates talks about her decomposing Santa dad trapped in the chimney? That brings a tear to my eye.
That might be the epitome of useless exposition in a film, where it's literally building to the climax of the movie, and all hell's breaking loose in this town, and there's fires everywhere, and there's cars running into buildings, and people are screaming and running with gremlins on tops of their heads. So they take shelter inside the bank that they both work in, and then when you can still hear all the carnage and all the craziness going on just right outside those thin windows.
The firemen came and broke through the chimney top, and me and Mom were expecting them to pull out a dead cat or a bird, and instead they pulled out my father.
This is a PG-rated movie where a character tells a story about her father dressing up as Santa Claus and attempting to climb down the chimney, and snaps his neck, and they find this decomposed body with a completely soiled Christmas Santa Claus costume.
The most iconic scene I think in the movie is when the mother, when all the gremlins finally wake up, and like 5 of them attack the mother in the kitchen, and thanks to Peltzer's wonderful inventions, she takes out like 4 or 5 of them, and every single one of those is just a creative way that she dispatches the gremlin. It's super gory.
She's kind of the biggest badass in the movie.
In that scene, she's such a badass. She grabs like the TV tray and makes it into a shield.
Yeah, and
she fucking stabs
and murders.
Complete murder.
Yeah, and she's like, die!
And then the microwave. I mean, that's the most iconic moment in the movie, kind of.
It's gross. It's disturbing. It's almost sad, but it's fucking awesome.
I do feel for the little green guys sometimes, especially in those
because
scenes.
he looks at his situation in there. We see him like, oh shit, you know?
Yeah.
He's like,
and I think about the cat. I did that too when I was 15. Oh,
And that's another thing. These Gremlins, whether they're Mogwais or whether they're the fully realized green, Gremlins, they look incredible. They look so awesome and so detailed. Yeah. And like we were just saying, like we feel bad for some of them when they die because they have life to them.
Yes, yeah.
They're so well done.
Even Stripe, is it? Not Spike's the second one. Stripe is the first one.
Stripe is the one with the mohawk.
Even Stripe melting at the end, you kind of feel something for it because it's still, it comes across as a living thing, and that's the magic of the movie. But even though that's, he's evil and you want to see he's the villain of the film, so you're okay with him melting away at the end, which is also another kind of a Wizard of Oz reference, I think.
Stripe is the villain of the film, but he's a villain who did not choose to be. He did not choose to exist. The true villain of this film is the little short round boy. Because he just gives this dumbass... Nice, good one. He just gives this dumbass white man a fucking ancient animal, a mythological animal that no one's ever seen before, and the consequences if you do anything against these three roles, it will kill everybody in your town in one night.
He vaguely gives him the three rules without the consequences of the rules, which is the most important
He's
part.
Just oh yeah, by the way, I'm in this alley right now. Pay me my $200 for this Mogwai, and I'm just gonna tell you a couple of things. Just make sure you don't get them wet. Don't feed him after midnight, and then you should be good after that. It's well, here's the thing. What if you accidentally get him wet, or what if he gets himself wet? There's a million ways to get wet.
Didn't know you like to get wet though.
Or what if he runs through the snow like they do hundreds of times in this movie, and it never makes them multiply?
These little fuckers should be multiplying the entire movie by running through the snow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who shoved a nightstick up his ass, and Frosty screamed,
"Don't stop!"
Such a fun movie. I'm so glad that you actually picked that one because it's a perfect one for Christmas as that kind of genre bender type of Christmas movie where you never lose that feeling of the holidays, and then it's a blast to watch with colorful characters, great Dante direction, like we said, great score. And I gotta give some props, man, to Zach Galligan because that guy never really did too much other than Gremlins. I think he did a few
good job
things
in the movie.
He did a great job, and if they ever do a Gremlins 3, the dude still looks pretty young. The Futtermans are dead because they died in the first movie.
What?
Yeah, Gremlins is a fun watch. Watch it during the holidays. It's a lot of fun. I give it 8 gulps.
Nice. Yeah, I agree with you on all those points. It's just such a fun movie. It really does capture the holiday spirit, I think. One of the few that can have its horror cake and Christmas cake and eat it too. I think all the films that tried to come after it couldn't really capture the same magic that this film brought. It really was a movie that kind of had magic for its time. Even its own sequel, there were reasons why it went in a different direction, but it didn't kind of capture the same magic for me. So yeah, I love Gremlins, and I'm going to give it a 7.
Give me that bottle of E&J over there. All right, so everybody,
how'd we fucking do?
Yeah, how'd we do? Let us know how many F-bombs you caught there.
Fucking glitter in my drink. Tastes good.
Well, this was a blast, everybody. Once again, we love doing the mixers, picking 3 different genres of a certain type of film, and reviewing them for you guys all in one big thing with a nice bow on it. Check out all these titles you didn't see us really say.
Oh, you've already seen these. If you haven't seen these, you need to get on it.
There's youth who hasn't seen these.
That's true.
Well, they play fucking Scrooged all the fucking time, but sorry.
Well, you need to watch it. Don't change the fucking channel. Watch Scrooge.
Please leave some comments and let us know what movies for the holidays that you would like us to do next year, or if you like these mixers.
Other ideas that you have for mixers? I've been saying I want to do a couple other genres. So
that's why we're doing one, motherfucker.
Throw out some ideas if you think, oh, did I just hear you cuss, motherfucker? Take a motherfucking drink.
And which one should I hit? I don't know. We'll go here first. It's a safer bet. All right, everybody. Thanks so much. We hope you enjoyed it. As always, please click like and or subscribe to our channel today. John, where can they find us?
Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Look for us under Cinema Gulp.
It's Christmas time in Hollis, Queens. It's Cinema Gulp's movie extravaganza, and you know what we mean.
Booyah! No. What do we want to?
We drink your jolly cinema.
I drink it up! We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish